Dr. Ginger here. I wanted to talk a little bit about hip labral tears and impingement, post-hip arthroscopy, and pelvic girdle pain, which can also be related to things like endometriosis and hip dysplasia. So my little message for today is one that's quite important, and I'm actually doing the thing that I'm going to be telling you not to do. I don't often say don't do this, but in this case I think that it's important, particularly if you are female. That would be me, particularly as typically goes with females. Our hips tend to be wider than the shoulders, right? If the shoulders are wider than the hips, you may have less issue with this, meaning that the thing I'm about to say don't do, you may be fine doing, right? It just depends on how wide the pelvis is versus where the knees are, right? So if it's a narrow pelvis, the pelvis just kind of sits over the knees. If the pelvis is wider, then the knees, then you're going to end up doing this, right? We call that a Q angle. You can Google that if you want to. But it basically means there's a longer distance to go between the glute med tendon, and you're gonna roll with me here, glute med tendon and the attachment point. So what does that mean? I'm about to show you. Thanks for rolling with me. It means that the distance of the glute med to where it attaches and provides stability, the glute med provides a lot of stability for the hip joint. So it comes off of the iliac crest and attaches out here onto the greater trochanter. The distance from that point to point A to B, it matters, because in women it is longer. It's bigger, it's longer. Okay, so the distance goes further. That means when I am sitting with my knees crossed, with my legs crossed, right, one knee over the other, which we do all the time. In fact, I'm going to back this up a little bit and show you. When I started this video, I was sitting exactly like this. So what does that do for my glute med, right? What does that do for my glute med? It stretches it a long way, right? So if I am the pelvis and I just cross one leg over, what am I doing? I'm actually stretching that glute med chronically, right? Versus if I don't cross my legs, excuse my green tape here, that's for a different video. If I don't cross my legs, the distance is shorter. As soon as I cross my legs, the distance is a lot longer. That matters because if you have hip dysplasia, borderline hip dysplasia or developmental dysplasia, if you've had a hip labral tear, if you have impingement, femoral acetabular impingement, subspinal impingement, and there are other types of soft tissue impingement, it could be that this is aggravating for the glute med. So how do you know? Well, if you have a hitch in your giddy up right in here, then that is the glute med min area, what we call gluteus medius and gluteus minimus. Glute med, glute min for short. If you have that pain in that area that is consistent and persistent, we don't try to use the word chronic very often, chronic pain, it's more persistent pain, then it could be that some things have been missed. It could be that you've been frankly medically gaslit and someone has said, oh, just stretch it out. Well, actually, stretching makes it worse. Just pause there because it's important. I think there are too many well-meaning providers out there that just say, oh, it hurts, stretch it, it'll be better. Actually, not true. It does make it worse. If you have impingement, hip dysplasia, you're post-hip arthroscopy, it could be that you have scarring in that area. It could be related to endometriosis or other persistent pelvic pain conditions that chronically stretching that glute med is chronically giving you persistent pain. So what do? Well, here I'm sitting now with my legs apart, right? What is this called? Man spread? I don't care what it's called, actually. I just know that if you're sitting with the knees apart rather than the legs kind of tightly closed together, that in women where your hips are wider, okay, then the shoulders and then your hips kind of go down to your knees this way, it is a more sustainable position to not cross the legs. I will never say don't do that, right? I want you to be able to do anything that you want to do. That's my job as a doctor of physical therapy, is to help you do whatever it is that you want to accomplish. I'm going to help you accomplish that movement-wise and activity-wise. But we also want to make sure that we're not setting you up for chronic inflammation, persistent pain, that if there are other things that could be driving it, which is why as a functional and integrative and lifestyle medicine practitioner, that I'm also going to look at nutrition, hormone balance, things like cortisol. We're going to look at those in labs, pay attention to those in your diet, how your sleep is, because all of those things could set you up for persistent pain and chronic inflammation that you don't have to have. We can absolutely manage that through integrative pelvic ortho PT, which is what I do every day. So I just wanted to say that. Stop chronically stretching your glute med if you have a problem. It's probably making it worse, not better. And if someone is gaslighting you, maybe they don't even know they're doing that and they're saying just stretch it out or just massage it out, that may be setting you up for that persistent pain. So if you don't know where to get help, we are glad to help you find that help. Just go to garnerpelvichealth.com. You can click on a free consult or just shoot us an email. If we know someone in your area, we will send them to you. This isn't about us raking in bunches of profit, because I'm one person. I can only see so many people, right? And our staff here. So we will try and point you in the best direction possible when we know someone that has that specialized training. The second part that I want to say, the second point that I have on that is that there aren't a lot of therapists who do both, who specialize in pelvic and ortho. So it is harder for me to help you find someone. I do teach continuing education on this because I have bridged that gap. It's what I specialize in. It's what people come to see me from all over the place, out of state, out of country, to get better, because there's just not a lot of us that specialize. This is no bad on the people who are only doing ortho or pelvic, because that's a lot to take on, is to do both. So we can't really expect, every PT that's going to see a hip labral tear to specialize in both. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of years. I've spent nearly 3 decades in order to get to this point to specialize at this level. So I also will, if there's not a pelvic ortho specialist where you are that really specializes in endo and hip labral tears and impingement, these things can tend to go together, hip dysplasia, that kind of stuff, joint hypermobility, then I will work and consult with your therapist, with your PT. That can also be arranged. So if you get to a stuck point, a stagnant point, and it's just not getting better, the glute med, don't cross your legs, can be a tip, but that's also a red flag that something deeper is going on and that there's a gap, there's something that's being missed. And of course, videos like this are what helps you to figure that out. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. If you have, thank you for subscribing. Please share it with a friend, that will help them. The purpose of my YouTube channel and these videos is to help you avoid getting medically gaslit. It's to help you get the right care, especially because this is the population that tends to get gaslit the most. You're female, or you identify as female. If you have joint hypermobility, which could be also related to hip dysplasia. If you have chronic pelvic pain, that could look like interstitial cystitis, it could look like endometriosis, it could just look like painful intercourse or dyspareunia or prolapse. If you have generalized, other than chronic pelvic pain, if you have generalized issues with any kind of leakage, front leakage, back leakage, that means bladder leakage, bowel leakage, any of that, all of those issues, and perimenopause, menopause, prenatal, postpartum. I think that covers about everything. If you're a part of that population, you are more likely to get gaslit. You are also more likely to not receive the care that you need,
So that is what this YouTube channel is about. Again, if you like it, please do so in the comments. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments, okay? Because I read every single one personally, and I do answer your questions. All right, passionate about pelvic health and ending gaslighting in it. I hope this has been helpful, you guys.